The engagement party at Rosewood Manor was everything my sister Megan had dreamed of. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over elegantly dressed guests, while servers circulated with champagne and canapés. Live piano music drifted through the perfectly manicured gardens, visible through floor-to-ceiling windows. The venue was undeniably stunning, the perfect backdrop for Megan to demonstrate exactly where I stood in the family hierarchy. "Emma, there you are." Megan's voice carried that particular tone of forced enthusiasm she used when she wanted witnesses to her generosity. "I've been looking everywhere for you. Come meet Derrick's groomsmen properly." I followed her across the marble-floored reception room, past clusters of polished guests holding crystal glasses and exchanging the kind of small talk that comes naturally to people who've never worried about money. Megan looked radiant in her designer cocktail dress, her engagement ring catching the light as she gestured expressively, clearly in her element as the center of attention. "Everyone, this is my sister, Emma," she announced to a group of impeccably groomed men in expensive suits. "Emma, these are Derrick's college friends, very successful, very eligible bachelors." She laughed prettily. "Well, most of them anyway." The introductions were politely awkward, with Megan providing helpful commentary about everyone's careers and accomplishments. Brad was an investment banker. Marcus, a surgeon. James, a tech entrepreneur. She rattled off their impressive credentials with obvious pride. "And Emma works in, what is it again? Something with computers." "Software development," I said quietly. "Right. Software development. Very technical. Very practical." The way she said practical made it sound like she meant pedestrian. "Emma's always been the studious one in the family. Very focused on her work." Brad nodded politely. "What kind of software do you work on?" "Mostly back-end systems for hospitality management, database architecture, booking systems, that sort of thing." "Oh, how interesting," Marcus said with the kind of polite disinterest reserved for other people's less glamorous jobs. Megan beamed as if I'd just confirmed something important. "See? Very technical. Emma's always been good with those detail-oriented things that would drive me crazy. I'm more of a big-picture person myself." She linked her arm through Derrick's as he joined us, every inch the successful marketing executive in his perfectly tailored suit. "Derrick, honey, I was just introducing Emma to your friends. Tell them about the wedding planning. Emma's been so helpful with all the practical details." Derrick smiled warmly, though I caught the quick glance he exchanged with Megan. "Emma's been incredible. Really on top of the logistics and vendor coordination. Very organized." "It's what she's good at," Megan added fondly. "All those computer skills translate well to spreadsheets and schedules. Emma made the most detailed seating chart I've ever seen." The group chuckled appreciatively, and I realized I was being positioned as the helpful sister who handled the boring details, while Megan shone as the glamorous bride. It wasn't entirely inaccurate. I had helped with vendors and timelines. But the way she framed it made me sound like a glorified wedding assistant. "Speaking of the seating chart," Megan continued brightly, "I wanted to let you know I made a small change. I moved you to table 12 instead of table 8. Table 8 was for the immediate family and wedding party. Table 12 was farther from the head table. Is there a problem with table 8? I asked. "Oh, no, not at all. It's just that table 12 will be perfect for you. I seated you with Derrick's cousin, who's also in tech, and a few others I think you'll connect with. Very smart, very practical people." Her bridesmaids, Sophia, Jessica, and Chloe, materialized at her side, their coordinated designer outfits making them look like they'd stepped out of a magazine. "It's actually better than the family table," Sophia added helpfully. "Less pressure from relatives asking about your love life and career." Jessica nodded. "And you won't have to sit through all those boring speeches about childhood memories. Plus, table 12 is closer to the bar," Chloe laughed. "Strategic advantage." Megan smiled at their support. "See? Much more comfortable for you. Table 8 will be all Derrick's business associates and my sorority sisters. Very social, very intense. Table 12 will be relaxed." I understood perfectly. Table 12 was for the family members who didn't quite fit. "That sounds thoughtful," I said calmly. "I knew you'd understand," Megan beamed. "You've always been so practical." Never one to make a fuss about protocol. Her groomsmen looked mildly uncomfortable, but no one spoke up. The musicians shifted to a new piece, couples drifting toward the dance floor. Oh, and Emma, one more tiny thing. Megan's voice took on that careful, casual tone that always preceded something unpleasant. I know we talked about you giving a speech at the rehearsal dinner, but I think it'll be smoother if we keep speeches to just the wedding party and parents. You know, keep things moving. Sophia nodded. Rehearsal speeches can drag on forever. Exactly, Megan agreed. And honestly, public speaking isn't really your thing, is it? You've always been more comfortable behind the scenes. That's your strength. Something settled in my chest. Not hurt, more like resignation. Tonight, I was being systematically repositioned, from sister to background figure, from family member to logistics coordinator. That makes sense, I said evenly. Perfect. I knew you'd understand. You're the best. I don't know what I'd do without you handling all the practical stuff. The conversation drifted back to honeymoon plans, wedding dresses, reception details. I listened politely, playing the role of the supportive sister who was grateful just to be included. When Jessica admired the venue, Megan launched into the story of how they'd secured it, Derrick chiming in about costs. Their friends marveled at the exclusivity of Rosewood Manor, praising Megan for managing to book it. I caught the subtext, Megan and Derrick belonged here. I did not. Eventually, the conversation shifted to me again, what my wedding would be like one day. Much more intimate, Megan said, the word intimate clearly meaning small. Her bridesmaids tried to be encouraging, suggesting budget-friendly weddings could be Pinterest-worthy and authentic. I smiled and nodded while they framed my future as modest, practical, and unremarkable. The party swirled on, polished and perfect. Finally, I excused myself and slipped toward the restrooms. My phone buzzed, texts, then a call. Emma Chin speaking. Miss Chin, this is Catherine Williams from Rosewood Manor Events Coordination. I'm so sorry to bother you this evening, but we have an urgent issue with the Hartwell wedding. They want to extend their reception by 3 hours and add a second bar service, but waive the fees. That's nearly $18,000 in costs. We're concerned about precedent. Have they done this before? Yes. This is the third time. Then deny it. Unless they pay full fees, they're welcome to find another venue next Saturday. Thank you, Miss Chin. I'll communicate that immediately. We spoke briefly about another client, then I hung up, only to find Megan standing behind me. Who was that? She asked, frowning. It sounded official. Work? On a Saturday night? At my engagement party? What kind of software development emergency requires that? Before I could answer, a woman in an elegant business suit approached. Excuse me, she said politely. I'm looking for Emma Chin. I was told she might be in this area. That's me, I said. Miss Chin, I'm Catherine Williams. We just spoke on the phone. I wanted to follow up about the Hartwell situation, and to personally apologize for interrupting your evening. I know how much you value your privacy during personal events. Megan blinked, staring at us both in growing confusion. Wait, how do you two know each other? Why is the venue coordinator calling you directly? Catherine hesitated, glancing at me uncertainly. Should I? It's fine, I said calmly. Megan, Catherine is the events coordinator for Rosewood Manor. We work together regularly on various matters. Work together? How? Megan pressed. You said you do software development. What does that have to do with wedding venues? Catherine's expression shifted to a mix of confusion and discomfort. I'm sorry, I think there might be some misunderstanding. Miss Chin doesn't work in software development. She owns Rosewood Manor. The color drained from Megan's face. She what? Miss Chin purchased the property 3 years ago, Catherine continued, apparently unaware of the bombshell she was dropping. She's been instrumental in elevating our service standards and expanding our event offerings. We wouldn't be half as successful without her vision and investment. Megan's mouth opened and closed soundlessly, like a fish out of water. I should get back to the party, I said gently. Catherine, thank you for handling the Hartwell situation so professionally. I'll review the Miller wine selections on Monday. Of course, Miss Chin. And again, my apologies for the interruption. Catherine walked away, leaving Megan and me standing in the marble-floored hallway, the sounds of the engagement party drifting in from the reception room. You own this place? Megan whispered. I own this place. But you said you do software development. I do software development, I replied. For hospitality management systems. Specifically, I develop and maintain the booking and event management software for all my properties. All your properties? Rosewood Manor, the Grandview Hotel, Lakeside Conference Center, the Metropolitan Event Space, and about a dozen smaller venues throughout the region. Megan leaned against the wall, looking like she might collapse. This is impossible. It's really not, I said quietly. You never asked what I actually do for work, Megan. You decided I was some kind of low-level tech worker and never bothered to get any details. But you live in that small apartment. You drive that old Honda. You dress like, she gestured vaguely at my simple black dress. I live in a perfectly nice apartment close to my office. I drive a reliable car that's paid for. And I dress appropriately for someone who spends half her time at construction sites and with contractors. I paused. Also, none of those things have anything to do with how much money I make or what I own. How much, she began, then stopped herself. How much what? I asked. How much money I make. How much my properties are worth. How much your engagement party cost me to host. Her eyes widened. Cost you? Megan, you booked this venue 8 months ago with a last-minute cancellation story. There was no cancellation. I held the date for you the moment you told me you were engaged. You've been planning your dream wedding at my venue, with my staff, using my resources. But, we paid the deposit. We signed a contract. You signed a contract for half the actual cost of an event this size. I've been covering the difference. Megan slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor, her designer dress pooling around her. Why didn't you tell me? When? I asked evenly. When you decided I was the practical sister who handles logistics. When you moved me to table 12 because I wouldn't fit in with your important guests. When you cancelled my speech because public speaking isn't my thing? When you assumed I'd have a modest little wedding because I'm so sensible about money? I sat down on a nearby bench, watching my sister unravel on the marble floor of a venue she hadn't even realized I owned. For 3 years you've treated me like the family member you have to invite but don't really want around. You've made assumptions about my life, my success, my worth, without ever actually asking. But I didn't know, she whispered. You didn't want to know. There's a difference, I said gently but firmly. You decided who I was and never bothered to find out if you were right. What about Derrick? Does he know? Derrick knows exactly who I am and what I do. He's been professional and respectful the entire time. He even tried to pay full price for the venue, but I insisted on giving you the family discount. Her voice cracked. Family discount. 50% off. Plus, I covered the premium flowers, the expanded bar service, and the live music. Your dream wedding is costing about $47,000. You've paid $12,000. Megan buried her face in her hands. Oh God. What have I done? You've planned a beautiful engagement party and what I'm sure will be a lovely wedding, I said gently. You've also spent years making it clear you consider me an embarrassment who needs to know her place and accept her limitations. I never said that. You seated me at table 12, Megan. You cancelled my speech. You've spent the entire evening calling me practical, sensible, grounded, as if those were polite ways of saying boring and unsuccessful. She looked up at me, tears smudging her mascara. What happens now? Are you going to cancel the wedding? Make us pay the full amount? Kick us out? I considered it, then shook my head. I'm going to do what I've been doing for the past 8 months. Make sure you have a beautiful wedding at a price you can afford. Because you're my sister, and I love you. Even after everything. Megan started crying harder. I'm so sorry, Emma. I was so wrong about everything. Yes, you were, I said softly. Can you forgive me? I can. But things have to change. You can't treat people like they're worth less than you based on assumptions. You can't decide someone's value by the car they drive or the seat they're assigned at your wedding. I know. You're right, she whispered. And for the record, I added with a small smile, table 12 is actually the best table in the house. Perfect view of the gardens, closest to the dance floor, and yes, strategically near the bar. I specifically requested it. Her head snapped up. You wanted table 12. I wanted to sit with Derrick's cousin Marcus. He's a brilliant software architect, and we've had some fascinating conversations about database optimization. Much more interesting than your sorority sister's skincare routines. Despite herself, Megan laughed. You're not upset about the seating chart. I'm upset about the assumptions behind it. Not the chart itself. She nodded slowly, wiping her eyes. What do I tell people about you? About all this? The truth, I said simply. That your sister owns the venue, and you're grateful she wanted to host your wedding. And Derrick's friends? They think you're some kind of low-level tech worker. They can think whatever they want. The ones worth knowing will adjust their assumptions. The others weren't worth impressing anyway. Megan struggled to her feet, and I offered her a hand. Ready to go back to your party? I asked. Are you ready to be introduced properly? She countered. I smiled. I've been ready for that for 3 years. The question is whether you're ready to have a sister who doesn't fit into the neat little box you built for her. She took a deep breath, smoothed her dress, and checked her reflection in a gilded mirror. I'm ready. And Emma, thank you. For everything. For the venue, for the discount, for not canceling when you had every right to. For being so much better than I deserved. You're my sister, I said simply. This is what family does for each other. We walked back toward the reception room together, toward the party full of people who were about to learn that sometimes the most successful person in the room is the one who doesn't need to prove it. Behind us, Catherine kept the evening running seamlessly, ensuring my sister's engagement party continued flawlessly. At my venue, supported by my staff, covered by my money. Just another Saturday night in the hospitality business, with the added complication of family dynamics and a long overdue conversation about assumptions, respect, and what it really means to know your place.